This episode of Linux Action Show is brought to you by GoDaddy.com.
And by Ting.com. Head over to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 29, Episode 5. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey, Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Should I tell folks what we got coming up on the big show today?
Let's hear it.
All right, well, coming up in the second half of the show, we're going to have an interview with Frank Karlitzek. We'll ask him about that pronunciation of his last name. But Frank is a free software developer. He's also the founder and CTO of OwnCloud, a KDE contributor, and he's the maintainer of OpenDesktop.org network, like KDE Look, GNOME Look, KDEApps.org, and many other websites, among other things.
Goodness.
Frank is a busy man in open source. And, of course, OwnCloud 6 is looking really good. It's got some really nice features that really caught our attention. So we contacted Frank and said, you got to come on. We got to talk about OwnCloud. It's just too awesome.
Great commentary, great questions, lots of good stuff.
Yep. And then in the news segment, Debian's got some big decisions to make, as well as some good news from the Cisco folks. And we might have a savior for email. So we'll be talking about that. And then in the feedback segment, a little bit of discussion about OpenSUSE 13.1? Yeah, that's the new version, 13.1. And we've also got an email about switching grandparents over to Linux.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
kind
of interesting. You know, it's a funny take on it, so
awesome.
We'll read that in the feedback segment.
Cool.
But first, Matt, it is our picks. And we start with the Runs Linux this week. Get ready for this one, Matt. I don't think you're going to find this one too often. The now humanoid robot runs Linux.
Whoa, holy Terminator.
No, he's definitely holy Terminator.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a Terminator or not.
Well, I mean, visually, I don't know why, but I picture waking up in my bed and there's this little Linux-powered robot trying
sleeping,
to
Matt?
get me a probe or something. I don't know.
You sleeping? Well,
Yeah,
so
right?
it runs on a customized version of Gen 2.
Oh, okay.
It has a 1.6
Interesting.
gigahertz Intel Atom for the CPU. It has this is really
Interesting.
I think this is the neat sauce. It has embedded voice recognition technology from Nuance, the people that make Dragon Natural Speaking.
Very cool. Oh, really?
And they're soon going to flip on its capability to tap into Nuance's cloud-based voice recognition, expressive text-to-speech technologies. The company say the new speech I/O tech will allow people to have truly natural conversations with the robot in 19 different languages.
You know, you could actually use these little guys as like little miniature therapists and such, right?
It's got a camera built in. It does imaging processing. The CPU can handle 30 frames per second and HD resolution. Of course, because the head moves around in different degrees, you get different degrees of recognition. Ready for this one? Can recognize a large quantity of objects already. Once an object has been saved, now can recognize it and say what it is when it sees it again. It can detect and learn faces in order to recognize people. It has sound detection and localization. It's able to detect and localize sound in space thanks to microphones all around its head, and it has smart stiffness. Automatically adapts the power needed by the motors during the movements of the robot for better use of the drive components and battery.
Smart stiffness, you say. That sounds interesting.
I know, right?
And then, of course, you got the resource manager. You know, I would love to actually get one of these and just put it to work, basically being my personal slave.
Now smart enough to say, like, if he has two orders that are conflicting, he can do conflict resolution on those commands. So, 1.6
Kill
gigahertz.
human, don't kill human. I mean,
Right.
You know, I'm saying.
Gigabyte of RAM. It's got 2 gigabytes of flash, and then it's got micro SD, SDHC, 8 gigabytes worth. It's got Ethernet and gigabit. It's got Ethernet and Wi-Fi. Like I mentioned, Gen 2.
As I say, gigabit might be a little interesting.
I don't know where the Ethernet port would be, but
I have a few suggestions.
Here's a little demo of it.
Help this little guy listen and speak better to make the experience better for people. Yep. So tell me a little bit, how would one use Now? What's the utility of Now?
Why do you think I'm useful? I'm not a machine. I'm a Now. I'm your friend.
Oh, God.
My mission is to take care of humans.
Well, if his mission is to take care of humans, I should hire him. He'd be a great salesperson for us.
Why not Steve? I understand people. I'm RT2, late very well. I never forget faces. I can speak many languages, and I'm always friendly.
And that is the voice of our robot overlord, Matt.
Right. I mean, at least he's cute when he's offing you in your sleep. I mean, that's the important thing,
Yeah,
right?
they start little, Matt. They start little.
I'm your friend as he's got his little robotic hands around your larynx.
And what's interesting, as he stands up there on stage, the robot moves around and shifts his body language around as he's listening. So like he shifts his hips.
Whoa.
He leans.
Well,
as
and it's
you're-
very fluid motions. I mean, he's either making you cupcakes or he's trying to take over the planet. I really don't know which way he's going here, but it's crazy. It's cool though. I mean, it's really cool.
I feel like if you made one about the height of like my older son, my oldest kid, I think you could. You would have a lot of utility out of that.
You could totally. You got yourself a maid instantly. Right?
I mean, I'm just thinking like the dishes could get done, right? This
little bit of vacuuming, have him answer the door when people are soliciting.
Here's my hope. This is all I want out of life, really, in the long term. I want to live just long enough to make these things serve us, but I want to die off before they actually enslave us, right? So I want to just live in the sweet spot.
You want to live in the golden era of robotics. You don't want to live in the servitude.
And I actually think we're either going to just fall just short of that or nail it for you and I both. I think this is going to be like the later versions of this will be the friendly ones, and then it's maybe my kids and their grandkids that are really going to have to deal with the robot war.
And think, and in all seriousness, let's really think about this. Look how adaptive this is. It's running Linux and it's cloud-based.
Yeah.
How is this not Terminator?
It runs Gentoo, Matt.
It runs Gentoo. I mean, that right there is Terminator, right? I mean, come on.
I mean,
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if it was, something else, but yeah, I mean, good grief.
So, and if you think about it, the positive side is A, you and I are probably going to get some great robot servants in the short term, and in the long term, the great robot war will unify humanity and will normalize all of our little minor problems, and we'll come together to defeat the robots.
Oh, absolutely.
So
and it's something else that occurred to me is intern. Hello.
Yes. Yeah. What's great about it too? It's like you could have the intern or the employee that never quits. Right, so you train them up, and you never have to worry about them leaving and taking their skills somewhere else.
And when you're having a bad day and you're verbally abusing him, he doesn't take it personally. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, you could just turn it off and just scream at it for like an hour.
I mean, it's not quite the same. It's not as satisfying as a Furby in a pillowcase. Oh, man. But you get the idea.
Although the chat room is pointing out, by the way, Linux Action Show's live on a Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific over at jblive.tv. The chat room is pointing out that with only a 1.6 gigahertz Atom processor, if he ever has to recompile anything, that's when you can get him. Because he'll be doing that for a while on a 1.6 gigahertz Atom.
Wow. I can't get over how good that was. I mean, I say good loosely.
I've got the full video. It's a hokey demo, but what they, just because it's a corporate presentation.
Yeah.
But they end up having the robot become one of the presenters.
Well, and you compare that to that Toyota Osmo or whatever it is, and it's just like, this is more accessible and easier to purchase, and it's come a long way.
They're going to have it up for retail sale in 2014.
Wow, I really need one of these.
I know. It actually, the funny thing is like it actually
Wow.
fits the vision of the show because it runs Linux. I don't know if we can program it from a Linux device, but we'll sure try.
That would be awesome. And then to have him do intros and all that.
I want to
He's doing your encoding.
I'm going to be happy if I can install SSH and then load Apache on my robot. That's all I want.
That would be awesome.
All right. Well, we got some
man.
great picks. In fact, the first pick that I want to the app pick this week is I'm kind of working towards a big photo segment on the Linux Action Show. Just really like diving into photo management because it's been my personal failure in getting my wife to switch to Linux is the photo management capabilities. So I'm taking a very slow, metered approach to figuring out a whole workflow process for somebody that has a lot of photos. And so my first pick is the very beginning outer components of that, which will be later rolled into a full segment. So we're going to get to that in just a second. But first, we got a brand new deal from our friends over at GoDaddy. Now, GoDaddy, as you know, is the world's #1 domain name registrar. You know that.
Oh, absolutely. I have a lot of domains through them.
Yeah, I do too. I just picked up a couple recently. Well, GoDaddy is working on streamlining and tightening integration, and one of the things that they've rolled out now is this new website builder that they have. Now, the Linux Action Show, of course, is brought to you by GoDaddy. Their website builder makes it easy to create your own website, put your business online, and find new customers. You can choose from hundreds of customizable designs, and you're on your way. Website builder even includes a free domain, hosting, and 24/7 support. Think about that. Free domain, hosting, and 24/7 support. It's go time, so go visit GoDaddy.com and enter the promo code WSB for Website Builder 6, WSB6 to get Website Builder for only $1 a month for 12 months. Of course, some limitations do apply, so go check out their website. But this
Good
is
grief, that's
this is
great.
this is such a tight integration of the platform and of the hosting and of the publishing, and they take care of the mobile optimization. But what else is really cool about GoDaddy, and Matt, I think you're going to appreciate this,
Yes.
is they have a freaking team of wizards who are constantly following all of the SEO best practices, seeing what's coming up on the pike.
Oh, I love
and
that.
They roll out SEO optimizations across the whole site. So people who take advantage of this, if you have friends and family who need to build a website, but they're never going to stay on top of SEO trends because they change every
And you don't
month.
want to be the one babysitting this.
Right. And this comes with free 24/7 support. The GoDaddy website builder is going to solve this problem for you. And really, it's a great way to get up and running. And when they bundle in the hosting and the service for $1 a month for a year, it's never been a better time to try it. So go use the code WSB6 when you check out over at GoDaddy.com and take advantage of their awesome. They just revamped it, brand new, just updated it. Better focused for businesses and all kinds of things, and they have a really great hosting platform behind it. So I think now is the time to go check it out. So go over to GoDaddy.com. You can also use the link in our show notes and use the promo code WSB Website Builder 6 when you check out, and you'll get that for $1 per month for 12 months.
You got to love that. I mean, speaking as a guy that remembers Angel Fire and GeoCities, I mean, we've come a long way.
Man.
We've come a long way because that was a mess. This is awesome. It just does it all for you.
Well, and as a tech friend or contractor
Right.
or family member, this is one of those things where you could sit down with them and just let them go, or you could set it up for them once and then they've got it, right? And the set it and forget it kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And GoDaddy maintains the patching, GoDaddy maintains the backend infrastructure, GoDaddy maintains the SEO optimization, and GoDaddy spins out the mobile version of the site to make sure it renders really good on mobile devices.
That's right.
It takes some of these things that new users and people who just don't have time like myself,
Yes.
I just don't have time to deal with this kind of stuff.
And that's what I've done is I've migrated a lot of my stuff over to GoDaddy simply because it's become much, much easier on time. The performance has actually gotten better. Compared to what I was using previously.
It's always
just
getting
been a
better.
great
It's
thing.
It's a one-time investment,
Yeah.
and then the infrastructure itself continues to improve, and then you just focus on building the site and drawing more eyeballs.
And I don't have to deal with, maintaining anything. It's all taken care of.
No, it's great.
It's
It's great. So go use the code WSB6 when you go over to GoDaddy to get the website builder for a year for $1 a month.
$1 a month, people. Good
Great
grief.
deal. So thank you to GoDaddy for sponsoring Linux Action. Long-time sponsors.
Yeah, long time.
Long-time sponsors, and we really appreciate it. Thanks you guys for using our codes too. All right, Matt. Now I've got an app that I want to demo really quick. It's called Rapid Photo Downloader for Linux.
Sounds awesome.
Huge shout out to the Google Plus folks. I made a post. There was an update I reshared about Darktable, and in the reshare I said, "Hey, what do you guys use for photo management? Because this is something I'm kind of struggling with on and off." And I had a few people, and I noticed they also seem to be more serious photographers who recommended Rapid Photo Downloader for Linux. And Rapid Photo Downloader, it allows you to import from multiple different sources, even if multiple sources at once, multiple SD cards, an SD card, and a camera. Or,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
compact
very cool.
flash, SD, all at once, a network share. It lets you import from multiple locations. It downloads videos as well simultaneously. It's carefully optimized, so it's really safe, but super fast, and allows you to apply tons of rules as the photos come in, like, naming conventions or even add like the aperture setting to the file name, the folder structure you want to use if you primarily organize with folders. It supports all of that stuff. So I've got I got an SD card right here, and I'm gonna put it right here in the SD card reader here on the Bonobes. So I think you'll be able to see some of this. I have it kind of cropped in, but so when you put the SD card in here, you can just launch Rapid Photo Downloader, and Rapid Photo Downloader can be set to automatically detect removable storage. So I went in earlier when I was first playing around with Rapid Photo Downloader. I went in here and I said automatically detect devices when they're hooked up. So you have to turn that on.
Oh, sure. So
If
when
you-
you install software, you actually got to go into the settings and make that happen.
If you're not importing from a directory that's already on the file system. So there it is, and you can see it's already automatically detected all of the photos on the card. And I can say copy or move, and I can say send photos to this folder, send videos to this folder, so I can set up different volumes. And I want to underscore that if I had multiple SD cards or multiple sources I was pulling from, they'd all be listed here at the top of the window. So right now it says 16 gigabyte volume, but it'd have every volume listed there with the amount of photos.
And they would be stacked over and under, essentially?
Right, yep.
Okay.
Yep. And you could see as I go through here, I could define all kinds of rules, like rename options, specific rules just for video, all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
So you can here's the rules to create subfolders.
Oh, there's your conventions right there. Okay.
Here's my rules to create photo renames that I could base it on metadata, and I can add it to the file
Sequences.
name. And,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's nice because a lot of times the digital camera just takes a photo and names it IMG_6875,
Yeah, something
right?
horrible. It means nothing to you.
Yeah. And the nice thing about this is maybe I want to use multiple different photo monitor or editor programs. Like maybe I want to touch some stuff up in GIMP, and then some stuff I want to toss into Darktable or whatever. So once you have it selected, just hit download, and the thing just I mean, it's done.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really quick. I'm
It's-
actually kind of surprised.
It's a rapid photo downloader. It really is.
Yeah, it stands by its name.
And then once you get it loaded, it's really great. Like for my wife. So my camera uses compact flash, right?
Sure.
But my wife's camera uses SD. I'm using my wife's SD card right now. And the nice thing about it is I can plug both of them in, and then I can import from both of them, and they all follow the same naming conventions. They'll all like all of the photos, even though different cameras took them, and they
It
came
still
from different
follows those
storage.
set naming conventions that you set up. Okay.
So when all of our photos get mixed in the photo directory, they all look like they belong together.
So let's say for Christmas, 5 cameras are taking photos.
You
And
got it,
it's-
man.
And it's Christmas 2013, 2014, whatever it may be, and bam, done. Oh, that's cool.
So you got what I'm saying. So
like it.
And plus, like I've been trying to figure out a way to, like I mentioned earlier, move my wife over to Linux, and she's used to on the Macintosh operating system. She's used to she plugs in the camera, she clicks a button, and then the software all handles it for her.
Yeah, the same with mine.
But if I'm going to move her out of that, I would like to move her back to a file system based organization with a program that sits on top of it, right?
Okay.
So this facilitates that. Here's still a very easy automated. We'll set up some rules that we'll always follow, so you never have to worry about it because they save once. You
Right.
set them once, right? And then every time you import, it follows those rules. And so all she does is she just puts the SD card in her card reader, opens up Rapid Photo Downloader, and she'll hit download, and they'll all just take care of it.
I like that.
And then she'll open up the Photo Manager program, and they'll all be there.
That might actually pay off.
Yep. So Rapid Photo Downloader, and it's available in multiple languages, and of course, it runs on a Linux near you.
Yeah.
So go check it out. It was pretty cool.
For as far as repos, Ubuntu PPAs or
I noticed here on their download page they have a package right here for Ubuntu and Fedora and Debian, and then it is in the Arch user repository as well.
Figured as much. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it just requires Python and Pyvix.
I don't know.
And also, there's a couple of dependencies you can grab if you wanted to do video, which on the Arch version it just lists, hey, if you want video, grab these dependencies too. And there's the PPA for Ubuntu.
Good stuff.
Yeah, real easy to get going. All right, Matt, on the Spotlight pick this week, I wanted to bring some attention to the Ubuntu GNOME camp. They're working on a respin of Ubuntu that's focused on the GNOME desktop, the desktop I happen to be on right now. And if you follow this project, they've had some wins and they've had some setbacks. And right now they're beginning to focus on the long-term support 14.04 version of Ubuntu GNOME, and they're running into essentially a staffing problem. So the Ubuntu GNOME camp has put out a call on Google Plus asking for some contributors, and they need a few people. Someone with bug control to actively commit and triage Ubuntu GNOME bugs. They need also somebody, actually a couple of people, to just help out with general bug fixing, and then they also need somebody to help with packaging up on the PPAs. They're looking for 3 to 5 years of long-term working with somebody. So they're hoping to get somebody who wants to join the project and make it like a long-term thing for them because they need to be able to rely on that person.
That's going to be, and this is, I think, a challenge you face anytime we're dealing with volunteers, is that I think people are very gun-ho in the beginning, but then life catches up with them and their priorities maybe shift. So I think it's going to be a challenge, but I think if you are someone that has an abundance of free time or just can set aside dedicated free time, this would be a great opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Look really good on a resume.
And I feel like, what they're essentially saying is Ubuntu GNOME doesn't go away, but
Sure.
they're going to have a hard time doing an LTS
Kind of
version.
slows things down a little bit, I would think,
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
Jedediah in the chat room says that that version of Rapid Photo Downloader, version 0.45, does not run on 13.10 through 12.10. Oh, I don't know.
That's unfortunate.
Maybe they'll have a new version out soon for those guys.
Runs on Arch, so, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do, Matt? What are you going to do? I would love to see the Ubuntu GNOME spin continue. So
Right.
if you guys are in the camp, if you're a packager, or if you can help with bugs, or if you can help just triage GNOME bugs and things like that, we'll have a link to their G Plus call out in the show notes, and maybe you guys can offer some help. It's a really recent sort of restart for their project, and you want to see them be able to put out an LTS.
Yeah, definitely. And it feels like it's a little bit of a reboot, but it's a good opportunity for them.
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. Very good, Matt. All right. Well, that's all the picks for this week. Let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com, Matt. Ting is mobile that makes sense. Ting is our mobile service provider right here.
Bam.
What's up? Bam. Both of us have a great Android devices, and I think they got like a special sale on the Note 2 right now, which is still a rockin' device. So if you want to pick up a Note 2, now is the time. Now go over, let's get started. Let's go through the basics, folks. Go over to last.ting.com. That's where you're going to hit the landing page. You're going to take $25 off your first device, or if you bring your own device. In fact, Ting has expanded their bring your own device initiative even to some internet phones.
Ooh.
That's right. The ones that begin with an I and end with phone.
I've been reading about that.
Yep,
and
they're,
I kind of showing that to my wife the other day. So-
They're piloting that. If you have a 4 or 4S and want to bring it over to the Ting service, you can check that out. We'll have if you go to last.ting.com, they have a link to their Bring Your Own Devices page. Now, what sets Ting apart? Well, quite a bit of things, my friends. Let's start with the fact no contracts, so no early termination fees. This is the part that I like the most because not everyone fully researches like what they buy into and
They
what
really
they're getting
don't.
into.
It's like, oh, hey, this sounds good. They talk nice, and they click it. And
Yeah,
do it,
and it's a flashy plan, and I get lots of minutes.
Right.
But it's actually a system that takes advantage of the consumer.
Right.
And I think as soon as you get to be a little savvy, especially when you like the mobile devices and you're watching this new computing platform develop, you hate to see this be run over by companies that are really squeezing every penny out of everyone. This is where Ting changes it up. $6 per device, and then you only pay for what you use. No early terminations, no contracts, no bundling of ride-along services. There's no overages because you're only paying for what you use, and there's no add-on charges for things like voicemail, caller ID, tethering, hotspot, three-way calling, call forwarding. All these features are just part of your plan. They have a beautiful online control panel that makes it super easy. At the end of the month, they just take your messages, your megabytes, and your minutes, and they add it all up. And whatever bucket you fall into, that's what you end up paying. It's very easy. They've got fantastic support. You can call them at 1-855-TING-FTW anytime between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern. That's on the East Coast.
Right.
And a real person answers the phone. When you're frustrated and you need to get something fixed, to have somebody answer the phone who owns your problem, sees it all the way through, gives you their direct number,
And
that's
is
a
knowledgeable.
huge benefit. And knowledgeable. That's a
Yeah.
huge, huge benefit. And they just wrapped up their golden ticket program.
Oh yes,
They
was
gave out
so
all six.
awesome.
The last 6th person was here in Washington State, Judith
course.
Kay. Yep. And there's a picture of one of them right there with her goat.
Nice, that's awesome.
I know.
Oh, wow.
So Ting was giving out these golden tickets for a year of Ting service. They're always working on great stuff, like the early termination relief. They'll give you a relief on your termination if you have to go cancel your line. Just go to ting.com/ETF. You can check out all the details on that. That makes the impact of switching over a little softer, and you'll be amazed. The average Ting bill is $21 per device. $21 per device. Mail Hauler in our chat room just switched his three-line family over to Ting. He said his first month's bill was $44.
Holy crap! For three
three
people.
lines.
Oh
For
wow.
3 lines.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Pretty awesome. So there's tons of reasons to go check out Ting. So start by going to last.ting.com. Then go hit that savings calculator. Put your current bill in there. Then consider the fact that you're going to be getting yourself a device that isn't locked, a device that is under your control, and it's saving you money while you do it. That's pretty awesome stuff. So last.ting.com. Go check them out. They have excellent support, and they're just a great company. I always check out that blog, too. They're always working on new stuff. And a little birdie told me there might be some new flashy devices coming soon, too.
Oh, better.
They got great devices now.
This is why I subscribe to their blog so that I'm aware of these things as they come out.
It's going to take something real special to get this HTC One out of my hands.
To
man.
pry your fingers off, you know.
It has these nice edges and these beautiful speakers.
And it's got that little shaky thing you were showing me earlier with the some sort of
the
image
parallax.
effect. That's cool.
And one of the things that still holds up for this HTC One is the optical image stabilization built into the camera.
That's a must-have.
It makes a big difference with the camera, and it has built-in filter effects, so you can take really great pictures. It does burst mode photos and lots of other nice stuff. You combine that with the Ting service, so I never worry about getting overbilled. I never worry about paying a whole bunch on a plan I'm not using. And like in the holidays, when my phone usage skyrockets, it goes way, way up. I don't have to worry that month that I'm going to get some sort of big penalty. I'll just pay my fair share.
It puts you in a very comfortable bucket to address your needs.
It's nice
great.
not to even have to worry about
Right.
it. And it's great to support a fantastic company like Ting, too. So go to last.ting.com, and thanks to Ting for sponsoring the
thank
Linux
you.
Action Show. All right, Matt. Well, let's start in the news this week with, I'll be honest, normally this wouldn't be the top story, but you know me. I'm still a little butthurt over WebM, and I don't
Little
like
bit.
it. And I don't like that we were going down the path of H.264, even though it's not an open codec.
It did feel like WebM kind of took you to
yeah.
dinner, and then it basically called you a cab.
Yeah, like I was
Right?
like,
I mean, it's like,
well,
what-
and like H.264 is like, hey man, I'm financially stable. A lot of
Right,
people
yeah.
like me. Why don't you come over here and we'll just hang out? And then WebM's like, no, come over here. I got a drink for you. And then WebM got me drunk.
And roofied you.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, really, you totally got roofied by WebM.
So Cisco's swooping in, and Cisco is announcing an open source H.264 codec. Now, this is complicated. But this is a big deal because, first of all, it's got Mozilla's attention. And now they're talking about bundling H.264 with Firefox. But
Which is awesome.
what they're doing here is so they're going to open source their H.264 codec implementation. Different people have different codec. Apple has their QuickTime implementation.
sure.
There's X264. But the thing that Cisco's doing here that's kind of huge is they're flipping the bill for the MPEG LA licensing.
Okay.
So they're going to pay the licensing fee for you to use it.
That's
and so
kinda nice, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So indeed, Mozilla has already announced that it plans to support Cisco's H.264 binary modules in Firefox. Of course, they're not the first to create an open source implementation. We mentioned X264, but the big difference here is they're footing that bill. Now, you might wonder, why is Cisco helping move the web
What's their
towards
motivation?
H.264?
Why are they interested in this?
Cisco is totally on board the WebRTC train. Now, we talked about that a few episodes ago, how cool WebRTC
So
was.
they have an invested interest.
They sell
Okay.
well. Plus, they also sell an S ton of products that already have H.264 support built in.
Makes sense.
And I think maybe Cisco's looking at Google's a big entity behind WebRTC. They're
Mm-hmm.
pushing VP8 and VP9 for it. I think they're looking at this saying, this could hurt us.
Yeah, we better start stepping up our game now
Yeah.
versus later and reacting.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm still of the opinion that H.264 is the technically superior codec for a whole range of from device compatibility with accelerator chips to playback to file size to quality.
Yeah, that was my two big ones: is
Streaming.
file size and quality in general, streaming.
Well,
as well.
and WebM, even though Google's making it work, WebM, I feel, is not up to the task of live streaming, not at high quality. Whereas H.264, I mean, it's already happening. When you use
and-
Skype HD, that's H.264.
And I've had instances with WebM to where I go to edit it, like say an OpenShot. I make my edits, and then they don't actually stick. So it's like, okay, well,
WebM
that's
is-
not very useful for me.
H.264 is no spring chicken either, but WebM is very hard to edit because the way that the frame math is done, there's large gaps where there's actually no frame markers in the WebM.
That's what I experienced.
And so there's a little metadata thing that says, well, there's a frame. Here's where the frames are supposed to be playback. So you just interpret where those frames go and do it. Well, an editor doesn't play like that. An editor
No.
expects every frame to be where every frame's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so when you bring WebM into a video editor, it can totally get munged up because it doesn't have all of those reference points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, from a visual point of view, it's unusable. I can't deal with it.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll see if this sways the tide. Speaking of swaying the tide on up-and-coming technologies or perhaps more established technologies in the case of H.264, Debian has begun seriously discussing replacing System 5 init and switching to either System D or Upstart. And this is sort of big because System D is sort of becoming almost like an API layer that sits on top of the Linux kernel that distributions that opt not to use a System D will have to implement their own solutions for.
Right.
Like, so in the case of Ubuntu, Upstart, to take advantage of things like C groups and the new versions of LogND, they're going to have to sort of come up with some sort of solution. So the Debian Technical Committee has been asked to vote on which init system to use, which could swing in favor of Upstart, some people say, because there's about 3 canonical employees that sit on that technical committee. Now, to be honest with you, this conversation is an entire episode.
It was, yeah, and I I'm not going to spoil what I said, but I stand by the points that I made in the show, so you should check that out.
Go listen to if you're Linux Unplugged episode 12, debating Debian decisions. Did you see we got a lot of pickup? on
Oh
this?
man, I couldn't believe
Some of the folks at the company that your hat is from, the Red Hat company,
Yes.
were resharing the post. I think people really liked this episode of Linux Unplugged. If you haven't checked out Linux Unplugged yet, and you've been wondering about some of this lower level stuff in Linux, it actually has huge ramifications for every distro out there. Even though it's Debian making the choice, its entire ecosystem wide, the ramifications. Linux Unplugged episode 12, we dug deep into that, and it really is. This whole conversation. It's its own topic. I wanted to mention it in the news segment here because now it's been officially logged in the Big Show's record that this day, November 3rd, 2013, was the day we covered that Debian's trying to make a decision. Now,
Exactly.
the funny part will be is if we're sitting here in a year and they're still trying to make a decision.
Which may happen. I mean, Debian is very glacier-like in a lot of aspects, so who knows?
Yeah, it's very glacier-like.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. It's just what they do. That's just how they do it.
Now, some good news. We've talked a lot about email, replacing email, rolling our own email servers, and I have not really landed on anything that I love because they all inherently have security issues. SMTP, in its very nature, just leaks metadata. Right?
Oh yeah,
So,
like a sieve.
LavaBit, the company that shut down because Edward Snowden was using LavaBit as his email provider, and then the government wanted full access to his key so they could decrypt everyone's mail.
Man.
So LavaBit shut down in sort of defiance of that. Then very shortly after, Silent Circle shut down because they wanted to shut down before they even got a national security letter, before they were approached. Because if you shut down after that point, you risk obstructing justice.
Right.
And so Silent Circle and LavaBit both shut down in the wake of the NSA revelations. A lot of our listeners of the Linux Action Show were LavaBit users because and it sort of caters to a more technical crowd. Well, LeVar Levittson, I think is how you say his name, and also the Silent Circle creator have announced Email 3.0, or Dark Mail as they're calling it, the Dark Mail Alliance, to thwart email surveillance. It's going to be based on open source code. 2 encrypted email companies that shut down while struggling to keep metadata out of the U.S. government's hands have announced that they're teaming up to create a new open source email protocol based on security and privacy that they plan to help the world ditch the old one, Simple Mail Transport Protocol, or SMTP.
Well, now, if I can put my tinfoil hat on for a second and ask a serious question, when someone does something like this, do we really trust or know who the hell they are and who they are associated? I mean, I'm not trying, again, tinfoil hat, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, it's kind of like,
I got a little clip from Uncle Leo did a interview with Ladar, not LeVar. LeVar would be the engineer in Star Trek.
Yes.
Ladar Levittson. Leo did an interview with Ladar, and Ladar talked about his motivations for doing this.
Well, I was going to say my next big thing is I'm going to start raising money to transition LavaBit from a services company into a software company, and basically release the code that was used to provide the LavaBit service as open source.
Were you running?
That's my next big project.
Were you running a standard SMTP server and mail cache?
It was completely custom.
It was all custom. Wow.
And it had to be to provide the kind of service that I did.
So you're open sourcing that code?
Hopefully, if I can raise the money, I'd like to get a couple of developers here in Dallas that can focus on it full time and review commits from the community and fix bugs and answer support questions about it. But assuming I can raise a couple $100,000 for that, I think the best thing to do would be to release that code, because like I said, if there can't be a LavaBit, at least there can be 100 LavaBit-like services out there.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point he made there. And so he's already raised over almost $200,000 for his legal defense fund. People, which
is great. But someone in the chat room pointed out, well, we can always review the code. Are you going to review the code? That's my question. Is that we always fall back to that, but unless you trust the auditor. Again, I'm tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, as far as
sounds cool.
Who would do this, I don't think there's probably any more two trusted people, because he ran LavaBit for 10 years.
Yeah, no, in this particular case,
and shut his business down in the face of the NSA.
Yeah.
I mean, so there seems to be some cred there.
But the people he's bringing in, like this guy, I trust. But again, there's just too many moving parts.
NSA subversion of somebody on the open source team. So here's
Manchurian candidate.
I actually think this might be the bigger problem. Is I actually think getting people to use it. They're calling it Email 3.0, private next generation end-to-end encrypted alternative. Here's the sticky part, at least the way I see it. I'm looking for the deets here in this article, but it's based the protocol. They're replacing SMTP. And they're essentially going to base it on XMPP
interesting.
and XML. Yeah, here we go. The new protocol will be based on the Extensible Messaging and Presence Protocol, XMPP, and set on top of Extensible Markup Language, XML, for messaging, presence, and multi-party chat, video, and voice calls all online. Then they're going to bundle up as a series of libraries to make it available for other companies to use as an add-on. Even companies such as Google, they could build in just support for it. So like when you're emailing somebody, they could say...
that would be very cool. I mean, if this works, I think it sounds awesome,
Yeah. They say we might see something on Tuesday for a Kickstarter campaign. I think I would throw in. I think I would because I can wait to build my own mail server if I can use this. I like the idea of a system that can intelligently sense, they're using the new system, so I'll use encryption, they're using SMTP. And then, if you build in things like OpenPGP or OpenGPG into there, or PGP support or whatever it is, maybe just make it that much easier for people to use encryption in general, too. I think it's exciting, and it solves the metadata problem.
And do you also think it solves the challenges like with BitMessage and things like that, getting people to change the way they do things if it's already integrated in something they use already?
I mean, the fact that they're making it available, they're going to make it available as like a library for current providers.
Seems like the adoption would help.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And, we just had that story that the NSA has wiretaps in behind the Google's actual network, and so they're slurping up stuff as it travels over the data center wire, whereas using a system like this, you'd solve that problem. So maybe Google actually has the motivation to go on board with something like this. I mean,
maybe
it's not like it's sort of like using SMTP. You're not promoting any one company's agenda. It's just a new standard. we'll see what happens. I mean, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. I don't know.
I think it sounds promising. Definitely, I'm on board with the main person behind it. I do trust him.
Yeah.
I want to know more about the people they're bringing on and how that code's being reviewed. Is it being reviewed, or
what
what's being
license
talked
will
at?
it be under? Will be important
what
too.
license is being after. But if everything checks out, thumbs up. Cool.
They report that 32 companies plan to donate $10,000 each to get pre-releases 60 days before the public gets it, and thus will be able the first companies to integrate it into their systems. They've already got 32 companies that want to integrate it into their existing systems.
That's awesome. It sounds really promising, and I think this may be a solution that could potentially work.
Yeah, and I wonder, it's interesting too, these two guys teaming up and saying, his point where he said there, like, well, look, if there can't be, this is the beauty about open sourcing, right? Like, hey, look, if there can't be a LavaBit, well, maybe there can be 100 LavaBit clones.
Right.
Powerful.
Exactly.
That's really powerful.
Can't stop the signal.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't stop the signal.
All right, Matt. Well, that's all the news for this week. We're going to talk with Frank Kalichik from the OwnCloud project in just a second. I'm really excited to talk to him, and he's in Boston today, of all places, even though I believe his hometown is in Germany, but we'll ask him about that when we talk to him. But first, I want to thank our segment sponsor, System 76, creators of My Machine, the machine we're talking to Frank on today, creators of machines designed and born to run Linux. Look, if you don't want to have to hassle with your hardware, you just want a fantastic Linux experience, then you need to go to System76.com. And one of the great things about System76, unlike other vendors who just shove their laptops off on a back page that you have to dig for, System76 is an active participant in the Linux community. In fact, if you follow the System76 Google Plus page, you'll see on the 29th, they posted what happens with computers that reach a little bit older, get about the 4-year mark. You know what System76 does? They wipe them, load them up with fresh installs of Ubuntu, and then they ship them off to the Community Project Computers, which is a group that deploys Ubuntu in labs and developing communities, making excellent use of hardware that otherwise would go unused.
I love that. I love the fact that they're participating in the community. They're actually giving out to folks that maybe need it and making that possible.
And, it's never been a better time to get a System76 computer with Steam out there now. There's just more and more games coming out. I love the Wild Dog Performance. We have the Wild Dog Performance in studio. We've also played with the former version of the Leopard Extreme, but I think we're going to be getting our hands on the Leopard Extreme soon.
That's what I hear.
And I've got, of course, the Bonobo. I love my Bonobo. So huge thanks to System76 for sponsoring the Linux Action Show. Look, guys, go get yourself something nice over at System76 and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you, would you? Well, I'm very happy to welcome Frank. Frank, say the last name for me.
Kalichik.
Yeah, Frank, so you, among many things, I didn't really realize that you also head up like the GNOME Look and KDE Look websites, but you have a lot of things you're active in. But I think, a lot of people now think of OwnCloud when they think of your name.
That's right.
And that's what brings you to Boston, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I'm originally from Germany, from Stuttgart, but at the moment over the weekend I'm in Boston. We do a small meeting here with some users and developers, and OwnCloud, we have a growing community of contributors, open source fans, and users, and actually like bigger enterprises and then organizations, universities who use OwnCloud. So there's always something to do, and there are always meetings, and that's great. I like it.
So for the record, Frank, what is your position and role with OwnCloud?
Yeah, I founded the OwnCloud project like a little bit about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. As an open source project. So I did the first version, which was really not that usable, right? 1.0. And then you have to start somewhere. And then we have this growing community. We have more people coming on board, and now we have a really, really, really big community of people who help to drive OwnCloud forward. And then 2 years later, so 2 years from now, we also started a company, like a startup around OwnCloud.
Okay.
Because we figured that OwnCloud is not only useful for home users who want to control their data, because it's also useful for companies and organizations. And so there's a opportunity here to do like a company and a community together to work together in a symbiotic way.
That's fascinating. I think I want to dig into that. So before we get to that, I kind of want to start about the inspiration for starting OwnCloud, because I'll be honest, my first impression was this is a Dropbox killer. Was that the original vision of OwnCloud?
Sort of, yeah. The original vision was that people, they have their files and they want to access their files, work with their files on all their devices, on the Linux desktop, on their work Windows desktop, and their Android phone, their tablet, and so on. So you have to store your data somewhere in a centralized way, somewhere in the network, right? To sync and share it from all your devices. Because in the future you have internet in your car and your TV and your coffee machine have internet access and so on.
Very true. Yeah.
So you really want to have like all your digital stuff on a central place. But this central place, I mean, this can't be Dropbox or Google. I mean, this would mean that all the people in the world store all their complete digital life in a centralized in a company server somewhere. So I figure that there's a need for an open source project that can enable people to have this centralized sync and share server, but it can run on your own router, on your NAS, on your home PC, on your root server somewhere.
Well, so let me ask you, because it sounds like the initial focus of OwnCloud might have been sort of like, well, Dropbox has privacy issues, it has et cetera issues, but now has the vision of OwnCloud kind of expanded to just cloud computing in general? Because I noticed a lot of the features getting added in OwnCloud 6 take on things like Google Docs. So now maybe it's Google Docs and Google just more in the sites as well?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that Google specifically is like the target or the enemy, but the thing is that, I mean, it was clear from the start that files is only the start of it, right? It's great to have all your files on your devices, but at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to work with your files. So we introduced this concept of apps, OwnCloud apps, really from the beginning, where you can extend OwnCloud with additional functionality. So we have apps like where you can view files, you can view videos or pictures, listen to music and view documents. And now we're also adding functionalities to edit documents in a collaborative way.
I got to tell you, Frank, this last week, I had two separate experiences that left me unable to access my cloud services. I had a Google account outage, which made it impossible to get to my YouTube channel for the Jupiter Broadcasting site. I couldn't get to my Google Docs, my Gmail, and I immediately, my first thought was, crap, I should have already moved over to OwnCloud. I wouldn't have even been having this problem.
Exactly.
You should.
I know, right?
That's it.
And then last night, we had an internet outage for FiOS, and I couldn't again get to my cloud services because my internet was out. And again, I'm sitting here in 1 week twice. I'm kicking myself. So I've noticed, more and more functionality that I require from these other companies is being built into OwnCloud. So I guess, my question is what do you see as like the primary deployment for OwnCloud in another 4 years or 5 years? Like, what do you think is going to be the most common use case for OwnCloud?
Oh boy, that's a difficult question. I mean, the IT and the cloud world is moving forward so fast. It's really difficult to say.
Yeah, I mean, the last 4 years where OwnCloud has been around have changed incredible. I mean, it's just been incredible change. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I think for the near term, the synchronization and accessing of your files and the sharing of your files, this will be the core of OwnCloud, I think, for a long time. But we will have functionalities around that.
Do you see opportunities with WebRTC and technologies like that working with OwnCloud?
Actually, yes. Yeah, we have. As you know, OwnCloud is a completely open source project, which means that everybody can contribute, and we have a repository in GitHub, which is called apps, and people just put random apps idea in it. They just want to work with some some special feature, and there's actually someone working on the WebRTC.
Wow, awesome!
Oh, that's very cool.
I don't think it's usable yet, not at all. But there's
but it's a good building point.
At least it's on somebody's radar, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this company you mentioned. So one of the things that I think is important for people, if I'm looking at going to OwnCloud, I think part of my motivation is I want to own my data, I want to take some of that back under control, and I want to have some local features. But secondarily, kind of a meta issue around that is, what's the long-term strategy for OwnCloud from like a long-term sustainability? Now, you mentioned there's a company now. Is that part of that plan to make OwnCloud something that sustains for a while? And how does that work?
I think so. Yeah, that's the thing is, I was, as you mentioned at the beginning, I'm involved in open source for a long time.
Yeah.
I was like involved in KDE for a long time, and KDE, I always find it frustrating that we get this new talent, right? New students joining the project, and they do awesome stuff. And then when their studies are done and they get a real job, then they leave the project, right? Because they don't have time anymore. They have to work, right?
Go to school or get a job,
and pay for their rent and so on, right?
Yeah.
And you can't really do that in a good way with open source. So I always thought, hey, wouldn't it be great to have an open source project also together with a company, so that we can actually pay people full time to contribute to open source or to open source projects.
So what is the revenue generation aspect there? Is there a collaboration with manufacturers or other software providers, or where's that piece come in?
Well, the business model is that, as I said, we figured that OwnCloud is also interesting for bigger companies and bigger enterprises, because they also have the need for protect their privacy, and now with the NSA thing, PRISM thing, right? I mean, the espionage thing is huge.
Yeah.
So companies that want to protect their data, and this is something that OwnCloud can also do. So we as a company, we offer like an enterprise version of OwnCloud, which is like optimized for enterprise usage, and we can customize it and we support it and so on. We have all kinds of things to enable companies to protect their data. And the community side, we offer like the complete free open source version, which is can be used for anything, but most people like use it for smaller installations, because if you're running a bigger installation in a company, you probably want to have like a phone number with someone that you can call if there's a problem, and someone who can implement a custom feature for you and so on. So that's the thing. Like there's the community one and the enterprise on the other side.
So it sounds like it's definitely centralized around support. Is there any interest in maybe going into pre-installed enterprise situations to where you can just basically say, here's an appliance, go for it?
That's a great idea. I mean, we are still a young company, right? We are less than 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
But that's an interesting idea. Yeah. I mean, if there's a opportunity,
find the right partner, of course, from the hardware side of things.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's funny too, because I want to talk a little about OwnCloud 6, but one of the things that has almost seemed like two things that have grown together is devices like the Raspberry Pi and OwnCloud. And it just, to me, it seems like, maybe not this iteration yet, but maybe the next version of the Raspberry Pi, it's got enough power but literally doesn't use much power that I could put this in my house running OwnCloud and just leave it for years and be happy. Do you see maybe like a potential there working from the business standpoint, and like maybe something that ships like this? And what do you think about these kinds of devices?
Absolutely. I think this will be the future. I mean, people will run their own cloud or similar software on their own somewhere. I'm perhaps on a Raspberry Pi, this is definitely one option. Perhaps it will be built into their internet router, perhaps on their NAS. Perhaps it will be, even in the future, perhaps it's built on their phone, right? That you can use your phone as a share server too, right? There are lots of options. And OwnCloud, I mean, it's free software. You can do whatever you want with it. And I don't know how it goes, but I think there are a lot of opportunities. And actually, I know there's a small company who is trying to build like a Raspberry Pi OwnCloud home servers.
Oh, wow. That would be interesting, even for small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's kind of shift gears and start talking a little bit about OwnCloud 6. And, I'll be honest with you, Frank, the thing that really caught my attention this time was, well, first of all, I can't believe you're already on OwnCloud 6, to be honest. It seems like it's just cranking away. And then second of all, this collaborative document editing using WebODF. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys started working on that, and a little bit about the technology that powers the collaborative editing?
Yeah, right. I mean, the thing is, the WebODF guys, the people who do the WebODF, perhaps to explain it, is an ODF implementation in JavaScript, which works on your browser. I mean, the first version was only to view document, then later they added functionality to edit it, and now they also added functionality to collaborative edit it.
Yeah.
And they're all friends. They're all old friends of mine. They're basically all KDE people, and I know them for years, and we talked, and there was always like, hey, we should do this together, right? And now finally, a few months ago, we really thought, hey, let's just do that, right?
That's awesome.
And just invest a little bit in it, and now we have this this app called OwnCloud Documents, which will be part of OwnCloud 6. And there you can create a document, edit your document, and also with one button, like share with someone on your own cloud or on a different OwnCloud, or just send in a public link to someone.
And I see businesses really latching onto that, because I think there's value there, both in expense and also efficiency as well. I think it's more efficient to do it that way.
Yeah. And there are a few things who are really special. I mean, there are ways to collaboratively work on documents, like Etherpad, for example.
Yeah.
But Etherpad is it only works in the browser. But what we have here is this works on top of normal files who are in your own cloud, and that can be synced to your desktop with our syncing clients. So you can later edit this with LibreOffice or whatever, Calligra or whatever you want. And then if it saves something, they're automatically synced up, and the guy who you collaborative with can see the changes and edit it. So it's
I love that I can work in my web browser or in LibreOffice or whatever. I mean, I think that's amazing. And Frank, that brings us kind of to one of our first listener submitted questions. Can I fire it at you? It came from who's not me? Came from Plasso on our subreddit. And he was asking about, or maybe it wasn't him, but one of the questions on there was asking about any plans on back-end file system encryption. Because while, for me, it kind of seems like a feature that these clouds are written in their native file format. They're not in some sort of proprietary binary or anything like that. But I guess some folks are worried about like shared hosting instances with OwnCloud, where maybe there's multiple OwnCloud instances on one server. Do you have any thoughts on encryption backends for OwnCloud?
I mean, the thing is that this is a super complex topic, right? I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, sure.
But, I mean, the short answer is, I mean, we're working on it, but the thing is, it's complex, right? What we already have with OwnCloud 5 and also like better with OwnCloud 6 is server-side encryption, which means that's an additional app. You can activate it in the configuration, and it means that every time you save a document or a file on your own cloud, it's then automatically encrypted on the server and stored encrypted on the hard disk.
Oh, okay.
This already gives you like additional security. The thing is, of course, if you don't trust like the server admin at all, then the server admin could like hack the own cloud code on the server and build in a backdoor and like sniff your password or whatever. So it's not 100% security. The 100% solution would be to do client-side encryption.
Right.
Which means you encrypt it on the mobile phone or on the desktop. The thing is that also has some drawbacks because, for example, the web interface doesn't work anymore. Then
the in-browser editing wouldn't work. Yeah,
exactly. The collaborative editing in the browser wouldn't work. And the thing is that if people would lose their certificate or password, right, there's no way to recover it, right, and people will hate that. Yeah. So we will do this in the future. Definitely, that's in the roadmap. But it's not the holy grail, right? You always have to find the sweet spot between user experience and security.
Yeah. Now, can we talk a little bit about the licensing? So one of the things that's struck our community right now as concerns is really, I think it's been inspired in a large part by Canonical and their contributor license agreement and sort of taking code and relicensing it commercially. So Plasso, noticed that the OwnCloud is currently licensed under the AGPL v3. And he's wondering if there's a plan there to maybe at some point relicense some of the code to a commercial non-open license.
Okay, that's a great question. Unfortunately, it's also complex to answer.
I bet.
The thing is, we have a contributor agreement, which means that people have to sign it if they want to contribute to the OwnCloud core.
Right.
But we invested a lot of energy, a lot of discussions for really over a year to find like the good solution. And what we have here is we guarantee the people who contribute to OwnCloud that everything that they contribute is then automatically released under the HGPL license. And that's actually different, to be totally honest, with Canonical and some others, right? Because they have the right to make it completely closed source at some point. Right. And that's bad, right? I mean, no one wants to contribute to something which could then later disappear.
Completely be closed off,
Yeah, this would be bad. And then we have like in the document guaranteed that if you contribute in an open source way, it will be open source. Okay. It will always be an open source and will never be...
I like that.
Will never change. But the thing is, we as a company, we exactly do what you suggested. So there is a proprietary license that we can give to our bigger enterprise customers. Because the thing is that I don't know if you're aware of that, but a lot of bigger companies, they're not really big fans of like the copyleft.
I've experienced that. Yep.
The copyleft licenses, right? And
they'll figure it out eventually.
Hopefully. But at the moment, the thing is that if they change something, if they extend it OwnCloud, they have to open source their modification. Right? That's a requirement of HGPL, and they hate that.
Right.
They really hate that.
Yeah.
So there is a second option with the proprietary license, but the open source part is really it's open source, and it will always be open source, and we can't even change it even if you want to because it's in the contracts.
So now, Frank, I know you're a longtime KDE guy. Any plans for collaboration with things like Colab or K-Office? Any kind of like any integration down to the Linux desktop application level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Colab, right? I mean, the Colab guys, they're friends of mine for a long time, and we work together. and there will be some cooperation really soon, collaboration really soon.
Oh, really?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's too early to promise individual features,
Sure.
but I mean they're just we are friends and we will do something together definitely.
And I also saw the GNOME project is talking about integrating like OwnCloud Contact Sync or something in version 3.12 of GNOME. There's some work there.
Yeah.
I mean, OwnCloud could position itself as sort of the collaboration suite of the Linux, like the back end that multiple different Linux desktop apps could take advantage of, and that could be huge because now we're really talking about a complete package.
That's the idea. I really love what the GNOME guys did with their. If you started for the first time, you get this online accounts wizard, and you can with one click configure your OwnCloud backend, and then it's automatically configured in your calendar and address book and your file manager. It's really sweet. And for example, what we also could do is we have like a key value store syncing backend in OwnCloud, additionally to the normal file syncing.
Okay.
So, for example, desktops like KDE or GNOME, they could use OwnCloud as a storage for their configuration, which means then you have several desktops and you can log into each one and have the same setup, and it's basically like the Chromebook, but the data is under your control.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what Zombu, I don't know if you remember those guys, what they tried to do with a Gentoo setup, and they had the little Zombu Mini and the Zombu laptop, and they tried to do it, but they didn't quite get there. But I think what you're talking about will probably nail it, because it's needed.
You see
badly.
it now, like Apple has rolled out iCloud, and iCloud has these key store values, and if you set up settings in an iCloud app, it can sync those. Kind of wonky on how it works. But this is this would be a much I would love that kind of capability because I kind of hack it together now. I wanted to go like low level here. Chinoko in the chat room wants to know about your thoughts on using PHP, if it's causing any problems, and if you could start over, would you use something else, or are you happy with PHP?
Yeah, excellent question. I mean, the thing is, I think I said this in the beginning. The real purpose of OwnCloud is that everyone can run OwnCloud.
Yeah,
right? That's like the thing, right? It shouldn't be difficult, and because of that, we have this architectural goal in OwnCloud that you can take an OwnCloud tar file or zip file, put it on some web server, unpack it, and then it should run. Right? If it's a web space from your university, or if a cheap server somewhere, a friend of you has a server, just take it, put it in there, and it's done.
I see.
You don't need Linux knowledge. You don't need a root access. You don't need start or configure a daemon. Mm-hmm. So that's like the design goal, and that's the reason we chose PHP, because PHP is like available in most web servers all over the world.
Definitely reaches that goal. That's for sure. This is important, right? I mean, if you choose other technologies like Node or Ruby and Rails, I mean, that's more difficult to find hosting for that. It's possible, but it's not everybody can do that.
That's true.
And that's the reason we use PHP. And obviously, I mean, PHP, there are some challenges, right? I mean, we have to be careful to make it secure, for example, and to have a good architecture, because it's actually easy to write bad code in PHP. The thing is, you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and we have a great community of great developers, and we have peer review processes in place. So we are really careful that it's good code and that it's secure and so on.
Yeah.
And because of that, we're actually happy with PHP.
So here we are. So you said it's 4 years since OwnCloud was launched, and it feels like the last 4 years have really kind of vindicated your original motivations for kicking this thing off. I mean, it with everything from just these more and more proprietary cloud services that have questionable security practices and privacy policies to the Snowden leaks and things like that. So I guess as we kind of wrap up, is there any kind of thoughts you have on OwnCloud that you want to share with folks, where you see things going? Maybe your immediate. I know we've talked about document collaborative editing, but is there other things in OwnCloud 6 you're pretty excited about? It's kind of that kind of stuff. Did I lose you? Uh-oh, we lost him right there.
A little bit of freeze there.
I'll call him back. I'll call you right back, Frank, if you can hear us.
But I think you brought up some great points with, some final thoughts and all that. And so something I would really love to see happen is I would love to see him be able to connect with a great hardware vendor. That would be awesome.
Yeah, now there you go.
I mean, I think that would be such an easy
if you could just now. I mean, hi there. Sorry about that, Frank.
Yeah.
Now, no problem.
Not. So Matt was just saying, we were just talking about, the last 4 years, how they've kind of really sort of vindicated the original motivations. And I'm wondering, we talked about the collaborative document editing. Matt was saying how cool it would be to have like a hardware vendor come on board and like maybe sell like an OwnCloud device. I'm just kind of like, I wanted to leave you kind of a moment here as we wrap up, like where you see sort of the immediate future, other things you're excited about with OwnCloud 6 and other things you might just want to touch on, let people know about.
Sure, of course. Yeah, I mean, as you said, the thing is that OwnCloud is free software, right? So there are no restrictions at all how you can use it. And I'm looking forward to have like OwnCloud integration in hardware devices, in like small like plug computer. You just plug into your wall, plug in a hard disk, and then you have your personal storage for your music and videos and holiday vacation pictures and so on.
Yeah.
So this is really good. And of course, I mean, at the end of the day, free software, like I said, so people can do whatever they want with it. They put in their company server or the university server. That's all great. So I think great adaptation. That's of course something that we're really working on. And another thing I want to say is, I mean, OwnCloud is really I think it's a very welcoming open community. We have over 330 people who contributed code already. If you look up the latest statistics,
that's awesome.
So it's really, and we have like an ISE channel, and we do developer meetings really every few months. So if you're really interested in contributing, then please come to the website, come to our GitHub repository. I think it's a fun project, and as far as I know, it's very easy to get into, and people are friendly. So yeah.
Well, I've been checking out every version since you've released them, and I can't wait to load 6. So we talked about collaborative editing. Is there any other feature of OwnCloud 6 that you're kind of looking forward to the most?
Yeah, there are a few features. I mean, we have, for example, preview thumbnails from the files on the web interface now. So if you upload a picture or PDF or something, you can see a small thumbnail. That's nice. Then we have like avatar pictures, which means that people can have small pictures of themselves in the web interface. If you share something, if you collaborative edit on something, you see small pictures of the colleagues. We have an activity feed now, which is like a feed where you can see what is going on in your own cloud. Perhaps you shared a folder with someone, then you see, hey, there's someone is editing a document that I shared with someone, or I created a document, and it really have a lot of small improvements. The big thing is, of course, the collaborative editing, but
it's huge.
There are a lot of things. And I also want to say that we are working most of the time, actually in the last few months, on QA. So we're really working on the bug fixing a lot. So I think OwnCloud 6 will be a really nice release.
Awesome. Well,
super cool.
We're both looking forward to it, and we'll take a look at it on the big show. We always like checking out OwnCloud. So. Frank, it was a real privilege to get to chat with you today, and thank you for juggling with us with the time zone changes and all of that.
It was fun. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely, Frank, and we'll keep in touch and we'll keep our eye on OwnCloud. Absolutely. All right. Have a good one.
Awesome.
Thanks,
you
Frank.
Too. Hi.
And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. Hey, Matt.
Yes.
I thought maybe we'd cover a couple of emails.
Good plan.
I don't know where we're at in time because we were just having a great time chatting with Frank, who's awesome.
He was fantastic.
And then we
really
were
enjoyed that.
screwing around on the live stream in between segments. So I've totally lost track of time. So we're going to do 2 emails this week.
Yes.
We've been getting so much email lately, so I'll try to get some more into Unplugged on Tuesday. I just loved this one. And so Saucy or Sancray, let's go with Sancray.
Sure.
Writes in, he says, my grandparents run Linux.
That's awesome.
He says, my grandparents, age 70 plus, now use Linux. I installed Ubuntu 13.10 on their Acer, since I think it's the most easy to use in their case. And he goes on to mention that Linux works for the elderly. And then folks in this thread, which is awesome, talked about the different things they've tried, like Zorin OS, we'd mentioned before. What I thought was interesting is Crash Bandicoot, who I've talked about it in our IRC chat room too. He recently just switched over a long-time Windows Power user to Fedora. And,
interesting.
I can't remember.
Interesting choice, actually. I'd be interested to see how that works out.
And Crash, if you're listening and in the chat room, if you want to put in, he didn't use Fedora direct. He used a respin of Fedora. And see if I bookmarked it. I think it started with a K, like Kadora or something like that.
Right.
And it's essentially Fedora. With codecs and some default set. It's real light.
Yeah.
And so what you get is the reason he was, because when he said, I switched a Windows user over to Fedora, I was like,
I'm thinking immediately my brain goes to package availability and RPM hunting, which they do exist, but still. It's kind of
it's Korora. K-O-R-A, I think. K-O-R, something like that. Anyways, it's essentially legit straight up Fedora, other than it's been tweaked a little bit. Yeah, Cora project. There we go. Here it is. And they're even tracking. I checked them. They're even tracking the Fedora 20, which by the way was delayed another week. Fedora 20 release, and in here, they basically ship you a tweaked desktop.
That's not a bad idea.
No, I know.
That's kind of cool.
So another thing is, and we're going to work out the details on this. Davidus, I think is how David US. He's in the IRC chat room right now. So I want everybody to bug him because he's working on something really cool.
Nice.
And you can get a little preview of what it is if you go to JB Colony Cloud. See if I'm getting all this right. JBColonyCloud.com. Yeah, here it is.
Okay.
And David has been extremely generous. He has a hosting provider that is offering him a ton of bandwidth and space. And so he is in the process of setting up a hosted OwnCloud instance for Linux Action Show audience members who just have been wanting to try out OwnCloud, but either don't have the metal to load it on or for whatever your excuse is.
And a lot of people out there are like that. You know.
OwnCloud is amazing. You need to try it. And if there's, David he's an advocate. He wants to remove one barrier for you to try it. When you go to jbcolonycloud.com, jbcolonycloud.com, he's going to have a sign up button you can click. You're going to email him some details, user account info and stuff like that you want. He'll generate a password for you, I think, and set up a hosted. Now, this is a community project. He's doing it for free.
Wow,
and
that's really cool.
He's a fan of Jupiter Broadcasting, and he's a fan of OwnCloud and wants to help spread the word. So go to jbcolonycloud.com. We're going to have more information there when it's ready. And he's in the chat room right now if you want to ask him some questions. And I'll link to this in the show notes, and you guys can go check it out. Go create an account. Go play with OwnCloud.
You no longer have an excuse to say, well, I just don't have the means to try OwnCloud. Now you do.
Yeah, and we made it super easy. Well, David made it super easy for you. And we're actually going to have it totally ready to go this morning, but there were some hosting issues. But all the little details are getting worked out. I'll give you an update on Linux Unplugged if we got one.
Nice.
All right, one more email get to. It comes in from Rob, and Rob is writing about OpenSUSE 13.1. He said, I wanted to suggest a review of the upcoming OpenSUSE 13.1 release. I've been beta testing now on the RC and then working via IRC the developers on things like bug squashing, testing, etc. Anyways, I thought one of the major distros that might be of interest, said I know Joss will be sending a PR packet out soon, and as an added incentive, I thought it might add interest if Joss were to Skype in for a little Q&A.
That I like.
Yeah, so Matt and I kind of talked about this over email a little bit, and we thought, so here was my question, Matt.
Okay.
Do you think we should have a chat with Joss from this OpenSUSE community and then do the review separate? Or do you think we should combine the interview and review into one mega episode?
I would do the review separate so that we can actually stew on what was talked about and really soak it in versus trying to... Because I feel like otherwise we're trying to rush things.
I dig. So I'll shoot out an email to Joss after today's episode and try to schedule him for next Sunday.
Nice.
And
I like that.
So we'll talk to Joss. We'll get all down and dirty with him about OpenSUSE. And then the following weekend, we'll do our review of 13.1. Exactly. And then if we want to say mean stuff, we don't feel bad that Joss...
It allows everything to kind of percolate. Exactly, right? Yeah, we don't put our foot in our mouth. But he knows, I'm sure, that I'm an OpenSUSE fan. I've run OpenSUSE. I'm very, very happy. It's a good distro.
Oh, yeah. You're coming to friendly territory.
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So anyways, he says, thanks for all the efforts you guys put in. Very appreciated. And thanks for taking the time to read this. Cheers, Rob. Well, Rob, thank you for emailing us. And thank you for your interest in 13.1. Yeah, we've been looking... This year, I've been looking forward to OpenSUSE 13.1 and Fedora 20 more than I think I have in previous releases for a couple of years. Kind of bummed that Fedora 20 got released because it's kind of been, if it gets pushed again, it's going to get pushed into Christmas, and then they're probably going to push it till next year at that point.
And I'm okay with, and I'm probably horribly unpopular in this facet, but I think it's okay to push it back if it means it's not going to be craptacular when it rolls out. So, you know what, guys? You go ahead and push back and take the time to make a good distro. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's just I want to play with the goodies. And
the Christmas
and as somebody who likes to mention he's an Arch user at least once an episode, to me... I look at the packages they're going to be shipping with and go, oh, that's cute. So I've already got newer packages today.
Right.
There is that. Like it's no.
Yeah, it definitely changes your perspective of it. But I do have different situations to where I would like a Fedora or OpenSUSE setup.
Right, so. And I feel like if it needs a little more time to cook, then you do it. They're the chefs; they know what's best.
That's
so we'll reach out to Joss and see if he wants to come on the show next week. Of course, it's going to depend on his availability.
Of course.
We're thinking about OpenSUSE 13.1 very much. So there you go. So anyways, just a couple of things to check out today. Go over to jbcolonycloud.com to get the details on a OwnCloud instance, and we'll have more there soon. And thank you to David in the chat room for setting that up. Yeah, it's awesome. Go check out last week's episode of Linux Unplugged. Really, I highly recommend it. We got a lot of really positive feedback, not just from our existing audience, but from folks in the industry. I'd say it's a game-changing episode. Really. It was big. It was. I was really happy because it's is one of those topics where it's like this could either go poorly, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's you know
It was a
say,
ballsy topic. Really.
hey,
It
we're going
was.
to talk about System D, and everyone's like, oh, okay.
And there were some bumps in the road. People had some opinions. It was heavy stuff.
Stuff happened.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, any websites or social profiles you want to point people to
I
over the
think
week?
for right now, just go ahead and Matt Hartley Public at Facebook. So Facebook.com/Matt Hartley Public.
Very nice. Very nice. Also, a reminder, we have our open source browser extensions that automatically tag your shopping sessions at lots of great sites like Amazon, Newegg, Best Buy, ThinkGeek. We also have multiple country codes in our affiliate, Woot.com. You can get it for Firefox or for Chrome. We've got an Opera browser extension in the works, and I think it's actually out there for some folks, and a Safari extension even. And you grab this extension before you shop, and then it automatically will tag your shopping session. This helps contribute to the Jupiter Broadcasting Network. We're not announcing officially yet, although I've been teasing on the live stream. Huge 2014 plans. Huge 2014 plans. We have been meeting with our accountant, getting all of it figured out, but we need your support now more than we ever have for what we want to pull off. So one way you can do that and just keep while you're getting yourself something, keep Jupiter Broadcasting in the loop and give us a little
All
something.
automatic, and
Don't have to
what's
worry
great
about
is
it.
you can help make this big 2014 happen.
I'm really excited. And that's one really simple, straightforward way for you guys to set it and forget it and just keep supporting Jupiter Broadcasting. So you can find links to those browser extensions at the bottom of every page of Jupiter Broadcasting for Chrome and Firefox. Yes. We appreciate that. Also, don't forget we have our IRC chat room. You can hang out, go into irc.geekshed.net, # Jupiter Broadcasting. And then last but absolutely not least, the Linux Action Show is live on Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific over at jblive.tv. Don't know what time that is in your local time zone, especially with the whole daylight savings time changes. Just go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. We have technology that has been specifically built to automatically display it in your time zone.
Nice.
You don't
Gotta
even know
love that automagic stuff.
Yeah, you know what you do is you just use magic. That's I found out. You just use magic. I have
Think
other
it
people
into
do
existence.
I have other people do it. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. Brought to you by soda, and also I had a Hemp Force breakfast shake earlier today.
Cool.
And
That sounds awesome. I picture paramilitary hemp guys come busting through your
It
door.
is, yeah. Well, do you know what the force part is? Is the fiber, if you know what I'm saying. Hey-oh. Yeah, this episode's also brought to you by a healthy BM. Whoa! All right, here we go. Kalinchik?
Kalicek.
Kalicek.
That's all. It just cut an extra file, which usually means we lost the recording. but
I
this
cut
time
things
too.
all day long.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Not a big
It's
deal.
okay.
Not a big deal. All right. Because one of these days, I will need somebody who's recorded our stream. Creepy Uncle made a bash script a lot. And I love bacon. Love bacon.